Good morning. It's day 4 of our Advents. And just gonna start out right off the bat with the Chelsea Yarns. This is Vintage Suitcase. Oh, this is gorgeous. Oh, look at this. I don't even know what to describe it. So when I'm looking at it versus when I'm looking at it through the screen of my phone, there's definitely a difference. We've got like some either very dark brown or some black spread throughout here, but this color, it's not quite a pale mustard. It's got more brown tones in it. So I definitely think that they took that pale highlighter yellow and put it over like something that may have been dyed like a very light brown, like a tan color, but the effect is just gorgeous. This is gorgeous. I can see why the Chelsea Yarns advent calendar is so popular, and why it just flies into people's carts when those get released each year. This is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, next up, we've got our Katrinkle stitch marker. This is adorable. It is in acrylic black glitter airplane. So this is super cute. I love it. Excuse me. I was in a mask a lot yesterday, being in the office, and of course, whenever I do that, I do end up having issues with my asthma the very next day. So I am a little wheezy and got a little cough going on, so I do apologize for that. Okay, so today's treat within the Lazy Bee Yarn Advent is just a Lindor truffle. I love these things. I'm glad there's only just one, because if it was like a whole, I think they come in those like bag type packaging, I'd probably eat the whole thing. That's how much I love these Lindor truffles. So that will be a sweet treat to enjoy later on while I'm catching up on other Vlogmas videos and working on possibly some Christmas knits and my brioche adventure shawl. Okay. So the color that we've got here from Lazy Bee is a very pretty dove gray, is what I would call it, with some micro speckling in blues and like a navy. Here's a good chunk of that. So again, I don't know that this will be a very high contrast with yesterday's colorway, but I do think that this is going to be gorgeous knit up. And I'm starting to see a pattern where we've got solids and then a speckle. So I will be very interested to see if that gets carried on throughout the rest of the Advent. And then for our Casting Whimsy Advent, okay, I did have to stop the camera there because I had a huge coughing fit. So our Casting Whimsy tea is Base Camp. So we've got some Darjeeling black tea, peppermint, lemongrass, and lemon balm. Given the fact that I'm having some issues breathing today, I think this is going to be the first cup that gets brewed. I will even bypass my normal cup of coffee this morning, and this is going directly into the tea infusers. All right, so on to Grenouille. I just love the aesthetic of this with these simple stamps on their packaging. Although that must have taken them forever. I don't know how many Advent kits that they sold, but that's a lot of work to put into that. Oh. If you like green, this is your colorway. Different shades of like a spring green. This is so pretty. And the color is bergamot. So going for a jewel tone, it looks like, with that. Okay. Okay, and finally we've got Ruby and Roses coming up, and day 4 is Whistling Wind. Let me see if I can get this open here. Okay, and this is going back to the purples and the pinks, so this is very pretty. Very pretty, and her yarn is so soft. I'm not sure if she gives us the fiber content, at least not on this card. I'm hoping that the fiber content will be on the 100-gram skein for day 5, which I do have. But this base is truly lovely, and I'm hoping it's all the same base. It certainly feels like it, but this is soft and smooth like butter. It's just beautiful. Very, very nice. After getting caught up on all of the wonderful Vlogmas videos on YouTube, I did decide to finish off Thursday night's episode of Critical Role and start working on getting my Brioche Adventure wrap started. So yesterday I left off, and I probably had about half of this I-cord knitted up, and I needed to go back and pick up my stitches so that way I could start the first brioche section, because I wasn't sure what I was doing, because there's only like 6 or 8 projects currently for this pattern that are loaded into Ravelry, and I wasn't quite sure if I was following directions correctly. Turns out I was. I should have trusted myself. But the pictures that one person had had the I-cord with the stitches picked up, and it looked completely different than what mine looked like. So that's what prompted me to rip it out, because I didn't trust my own knitting, which I know better. I should have. So because of that, while I was watching the D&D game, I went ahead and got the rest of the I-cord cast on, picked up my stitches, and I got the first 2, technically 4, because again, we are knitting brioche, the first 2 brioche rows taken care of. So this is day 1 as the main color, day 2 as the contrast color, and I think this is going to be a very low contrast 2-color brioche, the way things are knitting up so far. I do hope that most of this speckle starts to show up as the brioche builds on itself. But again, because I love Lazy Bee yarns so much, I am super excited to work with this yarn. It knits up so nicely. And right now, the project is living in one of my Joji Locatelli bags, Joji & Co. And of course, I've got my pen collection, if you want to see these here. So we've got Bernie and his mittens. That's a Shelly Can pen. The Wool Witch is also from Shelly Can. I've got a Manos pen. I've got Muffy the Beaver from Grocery Girls, last year's Grocery Girls enamel pen. I've got Gigi from Gigi Made It. This is Magpies, and then of course Gragu or Baby Yoda. Love this little dude. Just a cute little alpaca pen. And then of course the Joji & Co. pen. Gigi's Stand in the Gap, and then a little yarn chicken from, I believe, Jam PDX or JM PDX. So this is the same company that made the mug that I was using this morning for my tea, the Go Away Knitting mug. I also have one of their Descent mugs. It's 2 ladies that make up that company, and their pottery is just gorgeous. I do know that one of them spent a lot of years doing cake decoration, so they have a lot of piping on some of their mugs, and then of course they do vases and cake stands and other items. All of their pottery is just absolutely gorgeous. So if that's something that you're into, definitely check them out. Again, it's JMPDX. I believe they're out of Portland, Washington, or Portland, Oregon. Sorry, geography is not my standpoint. But like I said, this is living in my hoagie bag. And then I've got day 3, and then of course today's day 4 color. So while I'm catching everything up on this, it will take some time, but that's what I'll be working on. I am dealing with a pretty bad cluster headache today, so it's going to be a lot of couch knitting. And for those that know or are part of the Critical Role fandom, they will recognize this cartography on my blanket as cartography from Devon Rue. This is the Wild Mount throw from Critical Role. I got this as a gift yesterday from the Secret Santa exchange that's done by the fandom, and I'm super excited about this. I've wanted this blanket. It's super cozy, super soft, and it's just quite lovely. So I am going to finish out the day, probably working on this. I don't know if I'm going to do my stash tour today. Like I said, I do have quite the cluster headache right now, and I'll probably listen to some audiobooks. I've got a book that's due to be returned automatically in about 3 days, and I still have about 25% left to go, which is equal to about 6 hours if I leave it on regular speed. I may do the stash tour tomorrow in between writing my final paper for class. I do want to get that done tomorrow, so I don't know that there will be a whole lot of knitting in my future tomorrow, but definitely tonight. So we'll see how far we get with this. So you will be seeing more of this in the coming days as I work through this advent calendar. So if I don't pop in later tonight, I might. I don't know what we're doing for dinner. My husband's been away all day today, helping a friend out. So once he gets home and we decide what's going on with that, I may pop in for a little bit. So if not, we'll get at you later. Take care. Hey everybody, one final check-in for tonight. Just finishing up watching the Big Ten conference game. So it's kind of nice to see that Michigan is beating Iowa, our neighbors to the east. Do not like. So anyway, I guess tonight I'm a Wolverines fan. But anyway, as you can see, I am done with the first color, or the day 1 colorway from Lazy Bee Yarns in the Adventure, or Brioche Adventure. I don't know why I keep saying Adventure first, but this is the Brioche Adventure wrap. So I've got colors, or day 1 and 2 in this first brioche section, and then you do a little garter ridges before you switch colors, and you bring the background color from the previous section to the forefront on the right side. So then it's working day 2 and day 3, and as I predicted, this is going to be a very subtle difference between these grays as it knits up. I do think I'm going to like it. We'll see what tomorrow brings with day 5's colorway, because after this we do have that blue speckle. So hopefully I will be caught up with days versus colorways on this wrap by the end of day tomorrow. I do have to spend some time writing my final paper with having a cluster headache today for most of the day. Unfortunately, that just did not happen today. It was not in the works. When your head hurts and you can't focus on putting 2 words together, I guess you sit and knit brioche. So anyway, I hope everybody has a good night, and don't forget to love each other.